The alien city glowed with a cold metallic light, its towers sharp like blades against the stormy sky. Crowds of different alien species gathered in the central square, their voices loud, filled with excitement and cruelty. Tonight, an execution was planned, and the victim was no ordinary prisoner. It was a young alien girl, slender, graceful, with silver blue skin that shimmered under the harsh floodlights. Her hands were bound with glowing energy chains, and her eyes, though tired, still held a spark of defiance. She had been accused of betraying her people, but deep inside, she knew the truth. She was innocent, yet no one believed her. The rulers wanted her silenced, and the crowd wanted blood. From the shadows at the edge of the square, a human soldier watched. He was a stranger in this alien world, lost in a galaxy that often treated his kind with suspicion and disdain. But as he looked at the girl, something stirred in him, a sense of injustice, a fire that humans carried deep in their hearts. He could not watch her die. The executioners arrived, tall armored aliens with cruel helmets shaped like blades. They carried long energy weapons and moved with merciless discipline. The crowd fell silent as the leader raised his hand. The girl's head bowed, her breathing fast. The moment of death was seconds away. The human clenched his fists, his mind racing. Every instinct told him this was suicide. To interfere was madness, but his heart whispered louder, telling him that sometimes madness was the only path to truth. He pushed forward, slipping through the crowd, his eyes locked on the stage. The executioner's weapon rose, glowing brighter with lethal energy. The crowd roared for blood, and then silence, because the human had stepped onto the platform. Standing between the blade and the girl, gasps filled the air, the crowd confused, the executioner stunned. No one dared move, no one expected this, a single human against an empire's judgment. The girl raised her eyes, shocked, her lips parting. In disbelief, why would a stranger risk his life for her? The human spoke, his voice calm but firm. "If you kill her, you kill truth itself," he said, his words echoing across the square. The aliens snarled, their weapons humming with menace. But something about the human's defiance made even the bravest hesitate. The girl's heart pounded, her fate suddenly twisted by the courage of someone she did not know. For the first time in days, hope flickered inside her. The human turned slightly, meeting her gaze. And in that silent connection, something powerful began to form. The crowd shouted in anger. The soldiers prepared to strike. The air thickened with tension. One wrong move and death would claim them both. But the human did not step aside. He stood taller, his body a shield, and whispered so only she could hear, "I won't let them take you." The square exploded into chaos. The crowd shouted in fury, some calling for the human's death, others too shocked to speak. The executioners raised their weapons, their armored bodies shifting forward like wolves ready to tear apart prey. But the human stood firm, his body shielding the alien girl. For a moment, time slowed, every breath heavy with danger. The leader of the executioners growled, his voice booming through his helmet. "Seize him," he ordered. At once, 2 soldiers charged, their blades glowing with red energy. The human reacted fast, faster than they expected. With one swift motion, he grabbed the chain that bound the girl. Pulling hard, the glowing shackles cracked and sparked. Weakened by the sudden force, the girl gasped as her hands came free. She stumbled, nearly falling, but the human caught her, his grip steady. "Stay close," he whispered. She nodded, though her legs trembled. Her heart raced not only with fear but with a strange new trust. The first soldier lunged, but the human twisted aside. The energy blade cut only air, leaving a burning streak of light with his free hand. The human struck hard against the alien's chest. The soldier staggered back, surprised at the strength of a single man. The crowd roared louder, some cheering, most screaming in outrage. The second soldier swung at the human, but the girl, freed at last, kicked at his leg. The strike was weak but enough to throw him off balance. The human finished the move, shoving the alien back with all his force. The soldier crashed against the platform rail, sparks flying. The leader snarled, his blade raised high, but the human pulled the girl close and leapt down from the platform. They landed hard on the ground below, the noise of their escape echoing through the square. The crowd broke apart in panic, some running, some trying to block them. The human pushed forward, dragging the girl through the chaos. Energy blasts flew past them, burning holes in the stone walls. The girl cried out as one beam cut close to her shoulder. The human wrapped his arm around her, shielding her as they ran. He could hear soldiers shouting orders, boots pounding the ground. The Empire would not let them go easily. They dashed into a narrow alley between two towers. The lights flickered above, throwing shadows across the metallic walls. The human pressed her against the wall, his eyes scanning the street. "They'll be coming from all sides," he muttered. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Why? Why are you doing this?" "Because no one else would," he answered without hesitation. Her chest tightened at his words. She had been abandoned by her own kind, yet a stranger risked everything for her. She wanted to speak, to thank him, but footsteps thundered closer. Soldiers entered the alley, weapons glowing red. The human's jaw tightened. He searched quickly, his eyes catching sight of a service hatch half hidden in the wall. "Over here," he said, yanking it open. The passage was dark, narrow, leading into the bowels of the city. The girl hesitated, fear in her eyes. "It's the only way," he urged. Together they crawled inside. The hatch slamming shut behind them. The tunnel smelled of rust and burning wires. Pipes hissed with steam, dripping water onto the floor. The girl's breath came fast, echoing in the narrow space. She tried to keep up with the human as he guided her through the maze of corridors. Every turn was filled with danger, every step chased by shouts and echoes of pursuit. At last, they emerged into a dim chamber filled with machinery. The human pushed her behind a large pipe, both crouching low. They listened, their hearts pounding. Above them, the sound of soldiers echoed as they searched. The girl whispered, her voice trembling, "They will never stop." "They don't have to stop," he whispered back. "We only need to get far enough away." She stared at him, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "You risked everything." "For me," she said. Her voice was filled with disbelief, but also with something warmer. The human looked back at her, his face serious but gentle. "I couldn't let them take your life, not when it was unjust." For the first time since her capture, she smiled, though faintly. Her fear had not left her, but a new feeling grew inside. It was fragile, delicate, yet stronger than the chains that once bound her. Hope. The sound of boots grew louder again. The soldiers were closing in, their hunt relentless. The human stood, pulling her hand into his. "We move," he said firmly. She squeezed his hand back, her voice soft but steady. "Then I follow you." Together they ran deeper into the city's underbelly. Darkness surrounded them, danger behind and ahead. But in the middle of that endless chase, a bond had begun to form, a bond that would change both their lives forever. The tunnel shook with the sound of heavy boots. The Empire's soldiers were relentless, their voices echoing through the metal corridors. The human and the alien girl pressed forward, their footsteps splashing through shallow pools of water. Every shadow felt alive, every sound a threat waiting to strike. The girl's breath came fast, her chest aching, her legs trembled from exhaustion. Yet she refused to stop. The human kept a firm grip on her hand, pulling her along. "We can't slow down," he whispered, his voice sharp but calm. "They are right behind us." She nodded, though fear twisted in her stomach. Her people had abandoned her, and now her enemies hunted her through her own city. But beside her was this human, a stranger, who fought for her life as if it were his own. The thought gave her strength. The tunnel opened into a wider chamber, pipes stretching across the walls like veins. Dim blue lights flickered, casting broken shadows. The human slowed, listening. The sound of boots grew faint for a moment, but then came back louder, closer. They know where we are, he muttered. Suddenly, a blast of red energy seared past them. Striking the wall, sparks rained down, filling the chamber with smoke. The girl cried out as more beams lit the air. The soldiers had found them, their glowing helmets shining through the haze. The human pushed the girl behind a large pipe and drew a small blade from his belt. It was old, human-made, but strong. He pressed his back against the pipe. His eyes locked on the soldiers advancing. The girl whispered, "You can't fight them all." He glanced at her, his jaw set. "I don't have to, just enough to make them hesitate." The first soldier lunged, his weapon slicing through the air. The human dodged, the blade missing him by inches. With a swift strike, he slashed at the alien's arm. Sparks flying as armor cracked, the soldier stumbled back. Shocked by the resistance of a single man, the girl, her heart pounding, grabbed a loose metal rod from the floor, though her body shook. She swung it at another soldier who tried to grab her. The strike was clumsy, but it hit, knocking the soldier's mask sideways. He hissed in pain, falling back into the shadows. The human seized the chance, kicking another attacker into the wall. The fight was fast, brutal, every second a risk of death, but together they created just enough chaos to slip through a broken doorway. The passage beyond was narrow and dark, lit only by faint sparks. They ran again, their breaths heavy, their bodies sore. The girl's mind raced. Why would he do this for her? Why risk so much for someone not even of his kind? She glanced at him, his face marked with dirt and sweat. Yet his eyes remained sharp. He was determined, unshaken, even while carrying the weight of her life. At last, they reached another chamber, this one filled with strange machinery humming softly. The human guided her to a corner, placing a finger to his lips. They crouched low, hidden behind a broken console. The sound of soldiers filled the distance, their voices spreading through the tunnels. The girl's heart pounded so loud she feared it would give them away. After a long silence, she whispered, "Why me?" The human looked at her, his brow furrowed. "Because injustice should never stand, no matter the cost," he replied. His words struck her deeper than any blade could. Her people had condemned her without trial, but this stranger gave her worth. For a moment, their eyes locked. Something unspoken passed between them, fragile but powerful. It was more than survival, more than escape. It was the beginning of something neither of them could name. But the moment ended as the sound of metal scraping echoed nearby. The soldiers were searching closer. The human grabbed her hand again, pulling her through another passage. This time they emerged onto a narrow bridge that hung above the city's underbelly. Far below, rivers of molten energy flowed like glowing fire. The bridge trembled under their steps, the air hot and heavy. Behind them, soldiers appeared, their weapons flashing red, shots fired, beams cutting through the air. The girl screamed as the bridge cracked under fire. The human pushed her forward, shouting, "Run! Don't look back." But she did look back, and what she saw froze her heart. A beam struck near the human's feet, the bridge shattering. He lost his footing, his body sliding toward the edge. Her hand shot out, grabbing his arm with all her strength. "Don't let go," she cried, her voice breaking. His fingers clung to hers, his weight pulling her down. For a moment, death hovered over them both. The soldiers shouted, advancing, but the girl refused to release him. Her eyes burned with tears, her voice fierce. "I won't lose you, not after you saved me." With every ounce of her strength, she pulled. The human gritted his teeth, pushing upward with her help. Together, they climbed back onto the bridge, collapsing side by side. The soldiers fired again, but the two of them rolled to safety, finding another hatch at the end of the bridge. They slipped through just as the structure collapsed behind them. The roar of fire filled the chamber. But they were alive, exhausted, shaken, but alive. The girl's hands trembled as she touched his arm, her voice soft, filled with emotion. "You risked death." Again, the human, still breathing hard, gave a faint smile. I told you, I won't let them take you. In that dark burning place, something stronger than fear grew between them. They were no longer just hunted. They were bound, not by chains, but by choice. The hatch slammed shut behind them, cutting off the red glow of blaster fire. Darkness wrapped around them, heavy and silent, broken only by their uneven breaths. The human leaned against the wall, his chest rising and falling like waves after a storm. The alien girl crouched beside him, her hands trembling as she touched her bruised wrists. Her chains were gone, but the pain of her captivity lingered. For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence pressed on them, filled with the echo of danger still chasing them. At last, the human lifted his head, his eyes sharp despite the exhaustion. "We can't stop here long," he whispered. "They will keep searching." She nodded, though her body longed for rest. The tunnel stretched deeper, winding into the unknown. They followed it until the air grew warmer and the walls opened into a hidden chamber. The room was small, carved into the stone beneath the city. Old supplies lay scattered, broken tools, rusted crates, pieces of machinery long abandoned. It was not safe, but it was shelter. The human checked every corner before lowering himself to the ground. The girl sank beside him, hugging her knees. Her silver blue skin glowed faintly in the dim light. Her eyes lingered on him, filled with questions she could not hold back. "Why did you do it?" she asked softly. He glanced at her, sweat running down his face, his jaw set. "Because it was wrong," he answered simply. "But you are not one of us," she pressed, her voice trembling. "My people hate yours. They call humans dangerous, primitive, unworthy." A faint smile touched his lips, though it carried no joy. "I have heard the same about your kind," he said. "Yet here we are." Her chest tightened at his words. She had been betrayed by those who should have protected her, yet this stranger, this human, had chosen to risk his life for her again and again. A warmth spread inside her, confusing and terrifying all at once. The human shifted, wincing at a wound on his arm. Blood seeped through the fabric. Dark against the dim glow, she gasped, moving closer. "You're hurt," she whispered. "It's nothing," he muttered, trying to pull away, but she caught his hand, her fingers gentle but firm. "No," she said, her voice strong despite the fear inside her. "You bled for me. Let me help you." She tore a strip from her own garment and wrapped it carefully around his wound. Her touch was soft, her hands trembling as she tied the cloth. He watched her, his eyes unreadable. When she finished, she looked away, her cheeks glowing faintly in the dim light. "Thank you," he said quietly. Her heart skipped. It was such a small thing, 2 words, but they struck deep. She had not heard gratitude in so long, not even from her own people. For a while, they sat in silence, listening to the distant echoes of soldiers above. The city searched for them, every moment pulling danger closer. Yet here in the hidden chamber, it felt like the world had paused. It was fragile, temporary, but real. The girl finally whispered, her voice soft as falling rain. "My name is Lyra." The human turned to her, his eyes meeting hers. He hesitated, then spoke, "Daniel." The names lingered in the air, like a secret shared only between them. For the first time since the chaos began, they were not just fugitive and rescuer. They were 2 souls, bound by fate in the most unlikely way. Lyra hugged her knees tighter, her gaze fixed on the floor. "I thought I would die tonight," she admitted, her voice breaking. "I thought no one would care, no one would even remember me." Daniel's voice was steady, though his eyes softened. "They would have erased you," he said, "but I would not let that happen." Tears filled her eyes, but she blinked them back. "You don't even know me," she whispered. "I know enough," he replied, and in his voice she heard no lie. The silence stretched again, but this time it was different. Not heavy, not hopeless. It was filled with something unspoken, fragile, but growing. A sudden noise broke it, the sound of footsteps echoing faintly through the tunnels. Daniel tensed, his hand going to his blade. "They are still searching," he muttered. Lyra's heart raced, fear flooding back. But Daniel's eyes burned with determination. "They won't find us here, not yet," he said. "We will move when the time is right." Lyra leaned against the wall, exhaustion pulling her down. Her eyelids grew heavy, but before sleep claimed her, she whispered, "You saved me." Again, Daniel did not answer, but he stayed awake, watching the shadows, guarding her. Above them, the city roared with the hunt. But in the hidden shelter, beneath the stone and steel, a bond had taken root, one that neither chains nor soldiers could break.